What's good, YouTube? It's your host, Santana, the Prince, and you are now watching MVP Magazine. And I'm sorry for the delay, but you already know the drill. Leave a like, and if you're new here, maybe subscribe. Let's rock. So, the SNK World Championships has just wrapped up, and King of Fighters 15 was on full display, and I'm really happy that that game is getting a lot of coverage and that SNK are finally putting some money into making sure their games get seen, because KOF 15 is actually one of the best it's been in a long time. The roster is really good and that game is just really fun. And we also got to see new footage of Garou, City of the Wolves. Now, off rip, one of the things I am really excited and hyped about is the overall art style. SNK has had a long legacy and history of having beautiful 2D art in their games, and I'm happy they was able to find a midpoint between 3D and 2D graphics, that anime art style that they've always had, and it actually looks really dope. I'm loving the motion blur, the impact, and where everything looks. It just looks really cool. And I know a lot of SNK purists are upset about their games going 3D, but this looks like a beautiful midpoint, as I said before. I mean, if we look at the original Garou, which I had back in the day, I know I'm dating myself, but if we just look at the original Garou and we look at this, we can see that this is a really nice glow up. So they definitely got props for having a cool art style right out of the gate. Now, one of the things that has me really hyped for this game is the rev meter, which allows you to cancel EX moves into different EX moves to get really creative and damaging combos. But one of the things which I find really interesting about this is that you don't have to build the meter. No, for when the round begins, you're ready to rock. Damn! So this will work much like Street Fighter 6, where there's kind of a balance to it, where you can burn yourself out if you go in too hard, which is going to add an extra sense of strategy to these matches. Do you go all in for big damaging flashy combos, or do you play slightly more defensive? And there's actually another new feature which takes advantage of this, which is the guard crush mechanic, where if you happen to enter this burnt out state, your blocking meter can be whittled down, and if it gets fully emptied, you're vulnerable. Now, another feature which I'm finding really interesting is that each character is gonna have Tekken style string combos.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Which kind of are gonna work like more advanced target combos from Street Fighter. Now, they've been in SNK games before, more games like Art of Fighting, and they've always have command normals and stuff like that, but it's really cool to see SNK elaborate on them. And because each character has their individual styles, I can imagine them being really cool and work out for some really awesome flashy combos. And they're going to be also good for getting newer gamers into the game without sacrificing the skill level of the overall game. Really cool idea, SNK. Keep them coming. And of course, all the old systems like Just Defense and all that great stuff, TOP, is all going to return. Now, I don't know if you guys remember the old leak of the Garou sprites that came out a while ago that showed us the cancelled version of Garou. Now, they contained some of the new characters which are going to be in this new game, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm just disappointed about one thing. Just one thing. Why does Joe Higashi's student look like a Tumblr reader? What is going on? Why does it look like she's always complaining? Like she's in Whole Foods complaining about the price of melons right now. Come on, SNK. Go back to the cool characters designer. Please don't ruin my boy Marco, man. Please bring Marco back looking. He needs some new drip. Come on. Don't bring him back with the same afro, man. Bring him back with some new drip. Come on, man. I want him to be he needs to be that guy, man. He needs to be that guy. Okay, I've got it out my system. Let's go. But all jokes aside, I'm really excited and actually kind of happy at the fact that SNK not only are making a sequel to Garou, but it actually looks like one of their best games yet, and that they're really finding their whole groove with the whole making games in 3D. And hopefully this is that game which, like Guilty Gear Strive, allows them to cross over. Hopefully we see more people playing Garou and getting into it, and this will be the beginning. I'm looking forward to the game when it comes out. And in more SNK news, it seems that the company is doubling down on bringing back more of their classic franchises for the new generation. And as a fan of the corporation, I am really happy about that, especially in the way they're going about doing it. Recently, it seems that SNK and ARIKA have joined forces to develop more of their classic franchises, and we have seen them collaborate before with the whole fighting EX layer, with having Terry Bogard in there. But having ARIKA on board to develop their franchises is going to be awesome. Now, they've also gone on record on saying this doesn't necessarily mean that it's just going to be fighting games, but come on, of all the people you've hired ARIKA. Now, for all the people who don't know, ARIKA, their head guy, Mr. Arika Nishitani, was the creator of Street Fighter 2. He had a hand in a ton of other fighting games and is just a really big nut about the genre. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's behind a new World Heroes or Art of Fighting or something. But they do have a ton of other franchises which would be good for them to explore. So if they can have a new spin on, obviously, Metal Slug, or another one of their big franchises like, I don't know, Burning Fight, whatever, it would be cool to see. But I expect us to see a couple of more fighting games, especially Art of Fighting. I'm surprised we haven't seen a reboot of that. But either way, this is really great to see that SNK are back, and I want to see what this is gonna do for the industry, especially with Capcom being where the juggernaut that they are. And to tell the truth, this is the only misstep that SNK made back in the 90s. They were going back and forth with Capcom, doing big things in the arcade, but they never really concentrated on having a strong title in the West. And contrary to popular belief, Capcom wasn't always just a Street Fighter company. They first came in making great arcade games. They had Strider, Forgotten Worlds, and then they did the Disney stuff on the Nintendo, and they were building up this reputation the whole time. They, like, Final Fight was huge before Street Fighter 2 came out, and the first Street Fighter was a big game, so they were always just building. So Resident Evil was the game that super solidified them as not being the Street Fighter company. And I just feel that, things like Monster Hunter and Devil May Cry, they just was all just adding on to these blocks, and SNK never really went that route. So hopefully with them going back into their back catalogue of games, hopefully this can finally be a chance for them to claw their way up into the upper echelon of gaming developers, where they actually deserve to be, because they're not just a fighting game company. They've had a ton of cool games come up. Not gonna lie, most of them have been fighting games, but they deserve all their flowers. So yeah, this is really cool to see, especially for me, one of the classic gamers, one of the arcade fam. Let me know what you think about ARIKA and SNK joining forces. Are you excited to see it? You know what I'm saying? I am. I will not lie. And yes, thank you for everybody for rocking out with the channel. If you are new here, holla at your boy and leave a like. Sayonara.